Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and I wanted to talk about the headlines about the immigration increases and what that means for those people who are immigrants and who want to stay in the country but may be priced out. So today we're looking at a change that hasn't come with loud headlines or dramatic speeches, but will be felt in very real ways across thousands of lives. The UK Home Office has announced that from April 8th, most immigration, nationality and passport fees are going up again. On paper, it's being described as a 6 to 7% increase. That might sound modest, manageable even, but when you look closer, when you sit with what these numbers actually represent, you begin to understand that this isn't just a price adjustment. It's a shift in access. A visitor's visa goes from £127 to £135. A student visa rises to £558. A skilled worker visa edges up past £800, depending on where you apply. Indefinite leave to remain, the step that allows someone to finally settle, moves to £3,226. And British citizenship now costs £1,709. So let's digest this for a minute, because for many people, these are not one-off costs. This is not a single transaction like buying a train ticket or renewing a license. Immigration is a process, layered, repeated, often stretching over years. So what looks like a few £100s here and there becomes thousands over time. A family of four moving through the system doesn't just pay once, they pay again and again. Visa renewals, health surcharge, legal help, documentation. These increases stack on top of an already expensive journey. So what does this mean in practice? For some, it means delay. A person who was planning to apply for settlement this year might now wait another year to save the extra money. A student might rethink whether they can afford to stay after graduation. A family might decide not to bring over a child just yet. And those delays aren't just administrative, they affect real life, where you live, whether you can travel, the jobs you take, the sense of whether you belong. Now, there's another side to the story. From the government perspective, these fees are part of a system that is meant to fund itself. The argument is that immigration services should not fall heavily on the taxpayer, that those who use the system contribute to its costs, and in a time where public finances are under pressure, increases like this are framed as necessary, even responsible. Some people listening will agree with that. They say if you choose to come to the UK, you should be prepared to pay. They point out that other countries charge similar or even higher fees. They argue that the UK is still an attractive destination, strong economy, education, healthcare, and that demand remains high despite the costs. And there's truth in parts of that. But here's where it gets a bit tense, because immigration isn't always a simple choice made from a position of comfort. Sometimes it's driven by opportunity, yes, but also by necessity, by family, by long-term commitment. Many people paying these fees have already been living, working and contributing in the UK for years. They're not outsiders passing through. They are already a part of the fabric, and yet at each stage they are required to pay again to secure what others receive by default: stability, permanence, recognition. That's where this begins to feel less like a service charge and more like a barrier. Now, what is the impact in human terms? Well, imagine a care worker already stretched, already earning modest wages, trying to renew their visa. That extra £50 or £100 might not sound like much in a policy document, but in a household budget, it's groceries for a week or for weeks. It's a bill that doesn't get paid on time. It's a stress that sits in the background. Or think about a young international student, bright, capable, already paying high tuition fees. They want to stay, to work, to build a life here, but every increase adds another calculation. Is this still worth it? Can I still afford this path? And then there are families navigating the system together where every application is multiplied, where the difference between last year's fee and this year's fee isn't a small increase. It's a gap that has to be filled somehow. Some would argue that higher fees act as a form of filtering, that they ensure only those who are serious, prepared, and financially stable enter or remain in the system, that it maintains a certain standard, reduces strain, and protects public services. It's not a comfortable viewpoint, but it exists. And if we're being honest, it speaks to a broader question about what immigration policy is trying to do. Is it simply managing numbers, or is it shaping the kind of society the UK wants to be? Because fees in this context are not neutral. They send signals. They tell people how easy or how difficult it is to belong. They influence who can realistically stay and who gradually gets pushed out, not by force, but by cost. And it's interesting to note that some fees haven't changed. Priority services remain the same. The immigration health surcharge stays as it is. So if you can afford to pay for speed, that option is still there. But if you're already stretching just to meet the standard fees, there's no relief in sight. That contrast matters because what it does, it creates two different experiences of the same system. One for those who can move quickly and absorb costs, and one for those who have to wait, save, and navigate every step carefully. Now, stepping back from the numbers, what we're really looking at is pressure, not dramatic headline grabbing pressure, but steady cumulative pressure, the kind that builds over time, depending on what route you're on. And for many immigrants, the question isn't just, can I afford this increase today? It's, can I keep up with this system long term? Because the increases don't happen in isolation. As we've seen, fees went up last year. They're going up again now. And there's an understanding, spoken or unspoken, that they may continue to rise. So people begin to plan differently. They become more cautious, more strategic, more uncertain. And that uncertainty carries its own cost. Most people who move through the UK immigration system are not looking for shortcuts. They follow the rules, they pay what's required, they build their lives step by step, and what they're really asking for in return is clarity and fairness. Not necessarily lower fees across the board, but a sense that the system recognises their contribution and doesn't keep moving the goalposts. So how serious are these increases? For some, they'll be absorbed without too much disruption. For others, they will reshape timelines, decisions, and possibilities. And for a smaller but significant group, they may become the tipping point, the moment where staying becomes just a little bit harder to justify. That the reality behind these increases, that's the reality behind these increases. No sudden changes, no dramatic announcements, just a steady rise in cost and the ripple effect it creates across real lives. And as always, it's those living closest to the margins who will feel it first and most deeply. This analysis reflects publicly reported UK immigration fee changes announced for April 2026 and explores their potential social and economic impact. It is intended for general information and human interest insight, not as a legal or financial advice. And that's I'm kind of saying it like it is. It does seem, when you say 6% or 7%, it doesn't seem as though it's much. But when you think of it cumulatively, and when there's family members involved, and when that increase just keeps increasing every single year, it's not like these immigrants pay once and then it's over. They have to pay every single year. They have to garner together all that information and all that money every single year for them and their family members, if they have some, or students, whatever route they come on. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you today. I hope some of you found it useful and informative, and I think I shall stop it there. So you have a wonderful evening, and I'll say goodbye for now. You take care now. Bye-bye.